your mind back. What happened in the first of the 500cc sidecars? That, of course, was a win for Raz Palmer and Scott Dunn. They look to be doing just the same thing again. Well, we thought these were going to be the ones to set the pace in the 500 sidecar. They're doing exactly that. And if we cast our mind back to where it's up to again. Norman Haynes with third place finisher. Ricky Neal wants to change that. As you can see, Ricky Neal in third place at the moment. Norman Haynes trying to get round Ricky Neal, but not succeeding that time, does he? Down the back straight, he goes for the long way round, around the outside of Ricky Neal, and Norman Haynes now has got himself in the third spot. So this is how it's Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn leading comfortably. And I think I can get away with saying that, can't I? Leading comfortably, as you can see, there's quite a gap back to second place. Mike Reid it is, but now Norman Haynes, as he did in that first ride, starts to close. And if you remember, it was towards the end of the race that Norman Haynes started to make up his time on second place, Mike Reid. One more lap to go. We wonder if this time he hasn't left it too late. Looks to go around the outside, dives back underneath, tries to get through on the inside. Mike Reid shuts the door. So he's forcing Norman Haynes to go wide. If you're going to go any way at all, Norman, you've got to go the long way round. Gets right up on the back of that sidecar. These two are competing against each other a lot. No, they won't get it. Brian Palmer, Scott Dunn. He takes the second flag again, but it's going to be close to that second place. And, well, very, very close on the line. I'll leave that to my colleagues to my right, because I don't want to make any decision on that one. It's nice to have 3 or 4 lap scorers sitting to your right, because yes, we got it unanimously, we all agreed. A win for number 71. No argument about that, of course, that was Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn. But in second place, it was indeed right on the line, only by the width of a tyre, number 21, Norman Haynes and Neil Pocknell. In third place, number 57, Mike Reid and Andy Robertson. In fourth place, number 11, Ricky Neal and Duncan Bradford. And fifth place, number 233, Martin James and Dave Fremantle. The winning time, 1:46.62. Interesting is it does look as if there was some sort of clutch problem for Anthony Locke. That's the white leathers of Anthony that was a long way back on the start line, because he's obviously had an agreement with the starters that with no clutch he can't sit on the line, he'll let everybody else go and then he'll try and catch them. So this could be interesting. Marty Phillips is the guy that's leading at the moment. Steve Warner is up into third place, and look how Anthony Locke has moved through already. It's the white leathers number 99 that you're watching. If you can see him now moving up into 4th place in front of Rob Snow, that's where your eyes ought to be watching, because although Martin Phillips is doing well at the moment out in front, he's got quite a good lead on Barnaby. Warner is now starting to start the pressure from Anthony Locke. Well, this was certainly one way to make it interesting, wasn't it, to allow the guy to start completely behind the rest of the field. He had to let the ball go. The clerk of the course would never have agreed to him having any advantage at all, because it should be a clutch start. But with no clutch at all, if he lets the whole field go, as indeed he did, you all saw it with your own eyes. Well, this time, he goes round the outside of Pete Barnaby, and that's not an easy thing to do at all. He's got just one more lap to go, and he's got just one more rider to catch. It would be a tremendous victory for Anthony Locke if he manages to achieve this, but he's in 2nd place at the moment. That still is an exceptionally good result from the way he started. And Martin Phillips, let's not take it away from him, he's doing pretty well. Very much all the way through. He takes the checker flag. There wasn't too much of a gap, was there, for 2nd place to Anthony Locke. Tremendously exciting race it turned out to be. A win for number 43, Martin Phillips. 2nd place, and a very well-deserved 2nd place, to number 99, Anthony Locke. In 3rd place, number 133, Pete Barnaby. 4th place, number 11, Steve Warner. 5th place, number 189, Rob Snow. And 6th place, number 1. 7th place, number 241. The winning time, 1:43.86. 1:43.86 the time. Once again to see the flying Paul Fry in action, because he's already had 2 wins already this afternoon. I think a lot of us are just watching the times that he puts up, because he really does look a little bit untouchable this afternoon. Clayton Williams is the rider in 2nd that's got the challenge to go after Paul Fry. But what's the chance? Number 19 is Trevor Eadon. He's been having some good rides this afternoon, but he knows he's got 2 very, very quick guys in front of him. Oh, Dave Wright coming through as well. He's had some good rides this afternoon, Dave Wright. He's sitting on 17 points at the moment. After you points in the back of the programme, he's got a lot of work to do to try and work his way through. He completely missed the start. He's got Justin Elkins just in front of him. That's back in 5th place at the moment. But Dave Wright, working very, very hard, has got himself up into 4th place now. So it's a good riding from Dave Wright. Last lap flag going out. Paul Fry does look to be in tremendous form this afternoon. Clayton Williams still there in 2nd. And that gap has opened up a lot more than I'd ever expected it to between Paul Fry and Clayton Williams. Paul Fry very cheekily looking over his shoulder. I'm sure he's expecting Clayton Williams to be a lot closer. But that's the third weakness. We know that the see Paul Fry in the final, but we've got to ask the question of really whether anybody can get close to him this afternoon. Dave Wright. 5th place, number 191, Justin Elkins. 6th place, number 327. 7th place, 100. That winning time, 131.74. So he's kept all three of his rides to 131, but it's still the fastest, his very first one. The National Solo, this one certainly should be a good scrap as well, because we've got Phil Morris leading at the moment. Mark Seabright, you can see, has gone after him, and looks to me like Bob Camden that we've lost on that first bend. A great shame if it is Bob Camden. The red flag has actually been shown. Well, obviously the clerk of the course, in the interest of safety, deciding that the race should be brought to a halt. Very good start. The four riders that were in fact leading the field are up there again, and Bob Camden, like you see, it's great to see him back out in the rerun in 5th place at the moment. But as they start to get themselves sorted out, we look to that far side, looking for the tall figure of Phil Morris, holding second. Mark Seabright up there with Phil Morris in that, going for that second spot. Dave Perry has gone exceptionally wide on that top bend, so we might see Bob Camden moving through. But all the time Mark Seabright is stalking the back wheel of Phil Morris there in second spot. They both are looking in front of them. They're actually sorting it out as the day has gone on. Well, all three of those riders now pulling away from Dave Perry back in third place, and Mark Seabright has now moved through in the second, so he gets himself in front of Phil Morris coming out of the exit of that top bend. Has he got time to go after David? Disappointing ride earlier on this afternoon, but he's certainly made up for it. It's going to be interesting to see how the points are worked out, because we know we've had one or two riders running away with it, and on 3 legs to qualify. That can mean that sometimes riders that have missed just one ride might not qualify. We'll look to see how that turns out for the final. But if we look to see this challenge, no harm at all. A win for David Steen. In second place, Mark Seabright. Third place is David Perry, just hanging on in front of Phil Morris. And it's a win for number 41, David Steen. In second place, number 167, Mark Seabright. Third place, number 419, Dave Perry. Fourth place, number 84, Phil Morris. Fifth place, number 24, Rob Camden. Sixth place, number 193. Seventh place, number 125. The winning time, 134.88. 134.88. going with him is Paul Hurry, who we know went very, very quickly in his second ride. Steve Bishop, a disappointing ride second time out, but will he make up for it this time? He's in second place at the moment as they go down that back straight. But as I say that, Paul Hurry has moved through into second place. Vaclav Verner though, on maximum points at the moment. And he looks to be going fly into that final. So we could well have two riders going into the final on maximum points, but Paul Hurry may change that for us because Paul Hurry is closed up. And Paul Hurry sitting on 19 points at the moment, so only 1 point adrift after two rides of Vaclav Verner and Paul Fry. He now getting to the front, but I'm sure that Vaclav won't give this one up easily. Paul Fry has certainly got his work cut out to stay in front of Vaclav Verner. As you can see, Verner has gone for the inside line. That does force you wide on the exit of the bend, but he's managed to hang on to it beautifully this time as he goes down that back straight. I hadn't realised, so I looked to the far side of the field now that Richard Mussen has unfortunately pulled out again. There's nothing but problems this afternoon. But two riders that really do look to be in form going into the last lap in race 22 is Vaclav Verner leading from Paul Hurry in second place, and is Paul Hurry going to stop Vaclav going to the final on a maximum? One more corner to negotiate as those two riders almost together go into that pit stop. Paul Hurry tries to hold it tight, but Vaclav Verner drives wide, and Vaclav goes into the final on a maximum. Steve Bishop finishes in third place. Ricky Scarborough finishes in fourth, Simon Gittings in fifth, and Mark Chesil in sixth. So a win for number 44, Vaclav Verner, completing 3 maximum rides. In second place, number 86, Paul Hurry. Third place, number 134, Steve Bishop. Fourth place, number 27, Ricky Scarborough. Fifth place, number 179. Sixth place, 758. The winning time, 134.06. 134.06.
It's a lot quicker though.
The 12th and final qualifying heat, a chance to see in action again Dean Garton, no Colin White of course in this one, Glen Cunningham, who's sitting on very good points at the moment, 19 points Glen Cunningham. We look to see where he is. That is Trevor Eadon that's leading Glen Cunningham up in second place. Dean Garton is still there in third spot. All three of these riders have scored well, but it's going to be interesting to see whether they've actually scored enough to get into the final. Trevor Eadon is on 16 points at the moment, so I think this will ensure him replacing the final to maintain his position. Well, it would help if I actually used the right name, wouldn't it? Of course, I realised that is Andy Sell, not Trevor Eadon. My apologies for that. And as I say that, you can see he's pulled out on the far side, so just as I get his name right, he gets mechanical problems. Oh, a great shame that, because Andy Sell was on 18 points going into his last ride. Glen Cunningham is certainly through to a place in the final. One more lap to go for him. Well, and we hope that Andy Sell will in fact push round to the checker flag, because he is certainly on a lot of points at the moment. We wonder if just pushing around will be enough to get him into the final. But as the checkered flag goes, let's concentrate on Glen Cunningham, because he's ridden well this afternoon. Dean Garton comes through in second place. Dean, of course, had a disastrous result first time out, and on 3 heats. We wonder if that is enough to actually get him through to the final. Well, it's going to be interesting to watch how these points turn out, because now Andy Sell has come across the line after to get his machinery going again. That means that he will pick up some points from his last ride. Race 23 in your programme. A win for number 98. That, of course, is Glen Cunningham. In second place, number 16, Dean Garton. Third place, number 263, Graham Gordon. Fourth place, number 147, Paul Friend. Fifth place, yes, he did get into the points, number 50, Andy Sell. The winning time, 137.69, 137.69. We move on to the final qualifying heats of the National Sidecar. Of the last session of rides for the sidecar competitors. It's Heat 7 in your programme, race 24. A chance to see in action once again Russelling and Paul Urich. Oh, they indeed are sitting on 11 points at the moment from 2 rides in the sidecar class. Ian and Rick McCauley on 11 points too. So these 2 riders out together in Heat 7. And already Russelling has got quite an advantage on Ian McCauley. Sage Davis it is that's moving up in third place, looking for that second spot perhaps. And as we watch Russelling and Paul Urich, well, they certainly do look to be in control at the moment in this 1000cc sidecar class. I mentioned to you earlier on that only a fortnight ago they won the sidecar only meeting down at Wimborne, and they look to be showing us this afternoon exactly why. A good scrap going on for this second place though, as Sage Davis has now moved through on the inside of Ian and Rick McCauley. Ian and Rick McCauley were scoring well earlier on, so Sage Davis and Vince Davis not doing their point scoring tally any harm whatsoever. We may well see them out in the final with this second place adding to their total. They sit on 8 points at the moment. The checker flag goes for Russelling and Paul Urich, merely a formality for them to get them through into the final. Sage Davis, a hard ride for him, but he knows he's got a good chance of now being in the final with that second place. Ian and Rick McCauley finishing in third. As we go into race 25, it's Heat 8 of the National Sidecar class, and a chance to see in action once again Ken Lane and Mark Edwards. They've got away from that start line once again, a rather depleted field in the sidecar class, but Tim Bennett giving Rob Wilson a good run for his money in second place. Rob Wilson has scored reasonably well. He's on 10 points so far this afternoon. Tim Bennett has not got into the top of the scoring charts, but I'm sure he's not a rider to want to give up at all. He'll give Rob a run for his money. But will Rob Wilson be able to close the gap on Ken Lane? Ken Lane sitting on maximum points at the moment. 2 rides, 2 wins. He's going into the final on maximum. He knows it gives him a slight psychological advantage because the only rider that is close to him is Rustling, and Rustling, of course, was beaten by Ken Lane in that first race of the afternoon. So it's going to be an interesting final. Has Russell got used to the circuit? Has he got something up his sleeve? But Ken Lane and Mark Edwards certainly look to know how to ride this circuit this afternoon. And Alfred seems to be hugging the that they go over just as they go into this pit bend. Mark Edwards, a very experienced passenger now, doing exactly the right thing. He's staying down slightly as if he's going into the bend early. Ken driving hard as he goes over the top of these bumps. But they take yet another checkered flag. Indeed, 3 good rides from Ken Lane and Mark Edwards, and maximum into the final. National solo, but riders, if you can hear me in the pits, I'm told I've got an override over the pits tannoy. Riders, this is for your interest. Riders number 50, Andy Sell. Number 19, Trevor Eadon. And number 38, Dave Wright. If Marshall's and St John can hear me, those 3 riders are required for a runoff to find 2 places in the A final, the big national solo final. That's Andy Sell, Trevor Eadon and Dave Wright. Those 3 riders have finished equal on points. We only need 2. So the 3 of you, a run-off before the interval. That will give you a chance to refresh and recover and service, etc. before we get into those finals at the end of the day. So hopefully that message has got across. And I'll quickly give you the official result of race 25. I'm sure a lot of you have got the result in already. It's a win for number 7, Ken Lane and Mark Edwards. In second place, number 24, Rob Wilson and Vince Jones. And in third place, number 12, Tim Bennett and Ray Clark. The winning time, 128.76. Well, as we prepare for race 26, we've got no Alan Blewitt, of course, no Roger Measor, no Arthur Dimon, so Shane Baker could make sure of a place in the final by a good result in this one. He sits on 8 points at the moment. Of course, was after 2 rides. To repeat that quick message, hopefully those 3 riders will be able to get themselves ready. It will be after race 27 before the interval. If Marshall's and St John could stay in position, we need a run-off between 3 riders, Andy Sell, Trevor Eadon and Dave Wright, to find 2 of the 3 to go through to the A final. Well, it looked to be a very unusual start. Shane Baker and Clinton Martin providing a lot of entertainment on that start line for us. I'm sure they didn't enjoy it, but it looked very spectacular. We hope they haven't done too much damage at all. But it means that Rob Wilson Jr. gets a clear run at race 26. He wasn't expecting this. As I was asked earlier on to try and keep things a little bit quiet, I think I'll leave you to enjoy just these 2 riders. You know exactly who they are. Rob Wilson Jr. and Jason Glennie are leading. And nice to see that Shane Baker and Glenda Martin have got machinery back and going. we start the third heat of the 500cc National Sidecar. If they can hear me over in the pits, and I think for a lot of people's ears, I know there's a lot of you who'd like to know what's going on. I can quickly inform you that the reason that there was no number 39 put into the results for race 26 is I'm told that he can't take 2 checkered flags, so it means he'd only completed 2 complete racing laps. However, the good news, without all those technicalities, is that it wouldn't actually have affected the qualifiers for the final. So, although the technicalities are all there, and they're there for very good reasons, I can quickly relieve everybody and say it wouldn't have meant that Shane Baker would have got into the final. So away we go then, we'll see through. Exactly what's happened in this event so far. Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn have scored maximum points. They know that they've seen Paul Fry in the solo score maximum points. They've seen Ken Lane score maximum points in the sidecars. Will they be looking to do it in the 500cc sidecar? No final for this class. There is just 4 competitive rides, so sitting on 12 points, a 3-point advantage over Norman Haynes and Mike Reid. Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn look to be in a very commanding position. At the moment though, Mike Reid is the outfit that's got away from them, and it's Mike Reid that's making Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn work for this one. They'll try not to give them a clean run all the way through. There's one more ride after this one for the 500cc sidecar. At the moment, Norman Haynes, who normally does his catching trick on Mike Reid, has not caught up too quickly, so Brian Palmer, I'm sure, is pushing Mike Reid along. You can see he's now starting to go for it though as he goes along the inside on that back straight. Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn taking over the lead as they have done for the first 2 rides in this class. So into the last lap, leading once again. Mike Reid still there in second place, and I think Norman Haynes has left it far too late this time to make any close of that gap for the third ride. The points as they were coming into this ride were Brian Palmer on 12, Norman Haynes on 9 and Mike Reid on 9. So Brian Palmer is going to stretch his lead a little bit more as he comes now to the checkered flag. Checkered flag goes for Brian Palmer. Mike Reid has got a good second place and Norman Haynes in third. Ricky in fourth place. Noon. A win, once again, for number 71, Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn. In second place, number 57, Mike Reid and passenger Andy Robertson. In third place, number 21, Norman Haynes and Neil Cocknell. In fourth place, number 11, Ricky Neal and Duncan Bradford. Fifth place, number 233. The winning time, 144.46. 144.46. Well, I did mention to you a moment ago, it looks as if all the marshals and St John are aware that we've got a run-off now to find the last 2 qualifying places for the Solo A final. It's that close on points. If I quickly run down through the points of the Solo A final, Paul Fry qualifies on 30, Vaclav Verner on 30, Glen Cunningham on 29, Paul Hurry on 28. Don't worry, I'll give all these qualifiers to you in a minute, just see if these points match up to what you've done. Paul Fry 30, Vaclav Verner 30, Glen Cunningham 29, Paul Hurry 28, Clayton Williams 27, Dave Steen 26, Mark Seabright 26, Steve Bishop 25, and then we get the 3 on 24, Andy Sell, Trevor Eadon and Dave Wright. So 1 too many, couldn't make a clear cut-off. We need all 3 riders out there for a run-off to find just 2. Well, a very interesting predicament for the riders themselves. They know that there is going to be another ride however they finish with this run-off, because of course one of the riders will take pride of place in the Solo B final, because obviously all those points have been worked out already. And I can tell you that going into that B final, Phil Morris, Ricky Scarborough, Rob Camden were on 22 and 20 points respectively, so it was very, very close. And of course what can happen on 3 rides, but let's look at the run-off. Is in the black letters on the inside. Number 19, Trevor Eadon on the outside in blue, but leading at the moment is number 38, Dave Wright. Eadon has got the best of that first bend. Remember, it's 2 riders that go through, so winning is important, but also that second place between these 3 riders is just as important. Dave Wright looking in very convincing form. He certainly started the day very, very well, Dave Wright. He's had a lot of fights to come through the field, but indeed, if we watch Trevor Eadon, he's done well in second place, and indeed looks to be getting that second qualifying place. Oh, my apologies, of course it is Andy Sell that's got that. Trevor Eadon is the rider that at the moment is going into the B final. Well, as I say that, it looks as if there's problems for Dave Wright. Oh, very, very unfortunate for Dave Wright. He puts his hand in the air on the far side. You can see he's going to be very, very unhappy about that. It does mean that as we go into the last lap, Andy Sell and Trevor Eadon look to be the 2 qualifiers for the A final. Dave Wright just coasts back into the pits. Very, very disappointing for Dave Wright. There's no need for me to keep on about that. I'm sure you'll agree with me. He was riding brilliantly well in that runoff. And as we see the checkered flag go, these 2 are the 2 that are going to be out in that A final. Number 50 is Andy Sell, and number 19 is Trevor Eadon. Well, don't worry about whether you agree with me on points or not. I'll be giving you the qualifying riders for all the finals when I return after the interval. But for the moment, we'll keep everybody happy. I'll shut up for a little while, and indeed, if you want... Well, I don't know whether I can really give this announcement out, actually. It's probably going to incriminate me, but my little lad is insisting that I give you this notice, that there was a competition on the grasser stand that was to guess the number of sweets in the jar. The winner was Darren Head, and he was just basically 5 away from the coast. That's it, I think that'll keep him off my back for a little while. Don't think it was a fiddle at all, but we have been trying to find something to keep him happy. And this one certainly could turn out to be interesting. Anton Locke, of course, leading this event. Martin Phillips is right up there as well. But I've just noticed that, I should have said, I've had it pointed out to me that Martin, unfortunately, has been left on the line. He was, in fact, in second place in this competition after 3 rides. Pete Barnaby was lying third spot, right down the field at the moment. Andy Paddington, in fact, is leading, but the overall leader after 3 rides was Anthony Locke. And indeed, it looks as if Anthony now has got himself to the front of the field. So a great shame for Martin Phillips. But he's a lot of ground to make up. I'm sure he just completes the complete race distance, but not taking away from well this afternoon. Andy Paddington is getting up amongst the points. Pete Barnaby has worked his way through now into 3rd place. And I just wonder whether that will be enough to actually put him higher up the finishing order, because he does sit on 3rd place at the moment. Going well in 2nd spot. Oh, Martin Phillips very disappointingly riding round now very quickly indeed, but got a lot of ground to make up. Anton Locke still leading from Andy Paddington in 2nd place. Pete Barnaby still there in 3rd, and Steve Warner in 4th. Jeff Urban still scoring points as well up there. You see that Martin Phillips has indeed pulled off to go into the pits. It means that we'll see a checkered flag come out for the last time in the Coaster Club class. As I say, we've been racing all on coaches only. Anton Locke, defeating the last ride. He's taken that competition. Andy Paddington finishes in 2nd. Pete Barnaby finishing in 3rd. And I think that's enough perhaps to ensure Pete Barnaby getting 2nd place overall. It was a win for number 99, that's Anton Locke. In 2nd place, number 16, Andy Paddington. In 3rd place, number 133, Pete Barnaby. 4th place, number 11, Steve Warner. 5th place, number 241, Jeff Urban. 6th place, number 189, and 7th place, number 1. The winning time, 141.89. And of course, the last of the rides in the Coaster Club. And as I mentioned, they are riding for trophies, so the top 6, which we'll give you in a few moments, we need those for the presentation. We move on now to the National Solo Consolation Final. And if I can find the right piece of paper, let's run through them 100%. We've got number 38, Dave Wright. Number 84, Phil Morris. Number 27, Ricky Scarborough. Number 24, Rob Camden. 263, Graham Gordon. 179, Simon Gittings. 147, Paul Friend. 191, Justin Elkins. 758, Mark Chesil. 327, Kevin Buck. Look across that start line, I can confirm to you there has been a change of places in qualifying position because Dean Garton was the first reserve. It looks as if Phil Morris has come to the line. Dean Garton does start. Simon Gittings has made a brilliant start though and goes into that first corner with Kevin Buck going after him. Mark Chesil is up there in third place, Dave Wright up in fourth place. But Mark Chesil flies off that first bend. A brilliant ride from Mark Chesil. He's got himself right to the front. Dave Wright moves through on the inside of Simon Gittings. Kevin Buck still has to ride the outside line. Dave Wright on the inside. A good ride from him up into second place. Remember, he had that fight that he only just missed out on the A final. So it would put him down as one of the favourites for the B final. But Mark Chesil has pulled out all the stops at the moment. Dave Wright goes after Mark Chesil, but Chesil leading comfortably. Or is it comfortably? I look to that pit bend, he gets very, very close again. Mark Chesil holds the tight line in time. Simon Gittings, the early leader, is now back in third place, under pressure from Kevin Buck. Ricky Scarborough has moved up into fifth place. Dean Garton now moving through the field as well. But as we look to the front, it's by no means over because you can see Dave Wright has now moved up very, very close and gone through under the inside of Mark Chesil. So Dave Wright has got himself to the front. Into the last lap he goes. Just missed out on a qualifying place in that A final by scoring enough points. In the runoff, he was leading that runoff, so should have qualified for the A final, but tragically got engine problems and pulled out, which means he then could only come out in the B final. And he's riding superbly well to come to the finish line, and that's that disappointment. A good ride for Dave Wright. Great start from Mark Chesil and a good second place for him. Simon Gittings hangs on to third. Ricky Scarborough comes through for fourth. Kevin Buck for fifth, and Dean Garton in at the last moment gets fifth place. All for the National Solo competitors, and a great ride it turned out to be for Dave Wright. He is number 38, he goes in first place in race 29. In second place, number 758, Mark Chesil. Third place, number 179, Simon Gittings. Fourth place, number 27, then is of course Ricky Scarborough. In fifth place, number 327, Kevin Buck. Sixth place, number 16, Dean Garton. Seventh place, number 263, Graham Gordon. Eighth place, number 147, Paul Friend. And ninth place, number 191, Justin Elkins. That winning time, 134.31. Tremendous solo consolation final. We look forward now to the National Sidecar consolation final. The riders should be, and I know we've got one or two of these missing, they should be number 12, Tim Bennett and Ray Clark. Number 20, Chris Golden and Glenn Shuttle. 39, Shane Baker and Glendon Martin. 96, Chris Hall and Justin Westerway. 15, Ivor Matthews. 13, John Halsey. I say that quickly because I don't think those two last competitors will be seen. And it does look as if we have only got two starters on the line. So away we go with the consolation sidecar final. A straightforward scrap between Tim Bennett from the Southeastern Centre, travelled up here for this national event, followed by Chris Golden in second place. Did he pass him a cone then? That looked interesting as they went into the first bend. Tim Bennett with a new standing passenger for this afternoon. Pete Bassett has been riding for Tim Bennett over the last few weeks. Pete Bassett, who used to be a driver himself, has been passengering Tim Bennett, but he unable to make it today, so Tim was appealing for a passenger this morning. Ray Clark stepped in, and it does look as if they're going to make their journey up to Glenworth well. Bristol still there in second. Swap round the passengers for Chris, Justin Westaway joining him. As you might have guessed in the programme, it was Steve Kinchin. Steve Kinchin now has got another ride, I understand. So Justin steps in and rides for Chris Hall. And as we go into the last lap, consolation final for the sidecars, not turning out to be as we would have expected at the beginning of the day, but I'm sure Tim Bennett is not going to worry about that. He literally just coasts around that last bend, comes up towards the checkered flag, and confirms a win in the consolation final. I know they're going to make me lap score that one myself. Picking up a fabulous trophy at the end of the day, and it does look a little bit as if it's going to be Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn. Don't have to be over-impressing you with intelligence on that, do I? Seeing he's the only rider that's been unbeaten this afternoon. He's on 18 points at the moment. Mike Reid and Andy Robertson on 14 points. Norman Haynes on 13 points. Ricky Neal on 9. There's an awful lot of smoke coming out of one of those machines at the moment. Away we go then. Mike Reid has made a very good start, but Brian Palmer drives hard round the outside of him, gets his nose in front and dives into that first corner exactly where he wanted to be. It was a bit of a case of the fact that Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn only had to finish, but being the competitors they are, they will want to finish in first place and make a clean sweep on this event. Mike Reid looking to make it second place for him, holding second place at the moment from Norman Haynes in third. Interesting combination when you look at the crew that's in fourth place. That is Ricky Neal. Those of you that followed Grasstrack for many years will recognise the name. Yes, that is the solo competitor Ricky Neal and passenger Duncan Bradford. So two solo competitors combining to make a sidecar crew in the 500 class. And I'm sure it won't be too long before they start going a little bit quicker. Good experience for them this afternoon. And I've just been reminded that Mike Reid and Andy Robertson were at one time both solo riders as well. So seems to be quite an interesting switch to go from 500cc solo to 500cc sidecar. Oh, just half a lap to complete in the last of the heats of the 500cc National Sidecar, and it is going to be Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn that take their fourth win of the afternoon, and indeed take those fabulous trophies. Some very impressive 500cc sidecar driving from Brian Palmer. As Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn. In second place, number 57, Mike Reid and Andy Robertson. In third place, number 21, Norman Haynes and Neil Pocknell. And in fourth place, number 11, Ricky Neal and Duncan Bradford. The winning time, 1:45.74. 1:45.74, and I've just heard over my shoulder from Joanne, very efficiently doing the points as always, that is how they've finished. Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn win the 500cc National. Mike Reid and Andy Robertson finish in second, Norman Haynes and Neil Pocknell finish in third, and Ricky Neal and Duncan Bradford finish in fourth. Program, it consists of number 55, Paul Fry, number 44, Vaclav Verner. Both those two on maximums, unbeaten coming into this final. Number 98, Glen Cunningham, just 1 point adrift. Number 86, Paul Hurry. Number 7, Clayton Williams. Number 41, David Steen. Number 167, Mark Seabright. Number 134, Steve Bishop. Number 50, Andy Sell. And number 19, Trevor Eadon. Well, that's how they line up. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there thinking that last year's winner is the strongest contender. That is, of course, Paul Fry. He won this trophy last year. He's come back to defend it, and he's come back in very, very determined form to defend it. You look down that list of riders and you think to yourself, well, any one of them is capable of winning. Has one or two of them kept something up their sleeve for the final? Peterborough Speedway rider Paul Hurry has scored very, very well this afternoon. Aging Clayton Williams, has he kept something in reserve for the final? Glen Cunningham, we know, has been going exceptionally well just lately. Rises Speedway with Swindon, of course. And David Steen has got faster as the afternoon's gone on. So I don't think it's going to be an easy task for either one of these top qualifiers. Wait to see what happens as they start to line themselves up for this to be a final of the day. Breaks away in the middle of the track, but you can see Clayton Williams has gone after him. That's Vaclav Verner with him though on the inside. Paul Fry going round the outside. Vaclav Verner has to give way a little bit, and I look to see, is that Trevor Eadon coming through, or Andy Sale, I should say. Usually I've seen these others for the first time this afternoon. Andy Sale has come through on the inside. Vaclav Verner up there on the inside in a white leather, and Andy Sale goes after Paul Fry. A tremendous ride this from Andy Sale. Paul Fry knows he's got a challenge on. Turns on the power going down that back straight. It just opens that gap a little bit. But Andy Sale looks to be tremendous in the bend. He does look to be driving hard in the middle of the bend. Vaclav Verner with no answer to him at the moment. Clayton Williams is holding fourth. Paul Hurry is up there in fifth place. Paul Hurry trying to close that gap on Clayton Williams. A great scrap going on for that fourth place. But Andy Sale must be thinking, what have I got to do to stay with Paul Fry? He looks to be in tremendous form, Paul Fry. Smart bastard going backwards. It's all happening so quickly as Andy Sale is closed up yet again. The gap is not too big at all in terms of a national qualifying event, but if you look down that back straight, that's where Paul Fry is quickest. He's got one more corner to negotiate as he goes into that pit bend. Andy Sale in all sorts of potential. Paul Fry, absolutely tremendous this afternoon. For those of you that might have read in the press about Andy Sale during the week, I think you've now seen it convincingly that Andy Sale is going to be a rider to watch this season. A tremendous ride from him. And Paul Fry knew he had a challenge on. He knew he couldn't ease off an inch of the way around that circuit. A tremendous final from Paul Fry. He dominated this meeting from start to finish. Vaclav Verner must have wondered where Andy Sale had been saving it from. But I think you'll agree with me. A very well-deserved victory. Well, we thought he was going quicker earlier on today, but when I give you this time, you'll see that he was certainly pushed every inch of the way. A tremendous result and a very well-deserved victory for number 55, Paul Fry. The rest of the official result rolls out like this. In second place, number 50, Andy Sale. In third place, number 86, Paul Hurry. In fourth place, number 44, Vaclav Verner. In fifth place, number 167, Mark Seabright. In sixth place, number 41, David Steen. In seventh place, number 98, Glen Cunningham. In eighth place, number 134, Steve Bishop. In ninth place, number 19, Trevor Eadon. And the winning time by a second quicker than his other fastest time, 1:30.13. 1:30.13. A tremendous final and very well ridden to Paul Fry. We move on to the National 1000cc sidecar final, and this one equally promises to be as good. The riders who will be lining up are number 7, Ken Lane and Mark Edwards. They go through into this final on maximum points. Just behind them, just 1 point adrift, number 6 Rustling and Paul Urich. Number 25 Rob Wilson and Jason Glennie, 1 point down again on 16. Number 24 Rob Wilson Jr. and Vince, the other way round. That was Rob Wilson Jr., wasn't it? 25. 24 is Rob Wilson and Vince Jones. They're on 15 points. Equally are number 50 Ian and Rick McCauley, qualifying on 15 points. And number 26 joins them on the line, Sage Davis and Vince Davis. So that's the 6 that line up. If I look across to that far side, it looks as if Rustling has drawn an outside gate. Well, I'm told they don't draw for the gate, they've actually chosen the gate, so the highest point scorer gets first choice. Ken Lane has decided to go in the middle of the gate. Rustling has gone on the far side, and Rustling has got away, but Ken Lane is right on the inside of him, and those two together, we knew this was probably going to be a scrap between these two. Rustling is forced to the outside, Ken Lane drives hard, and Rob Wilson tries to take the advantage and come up on the inside of them. So Rob Wilson right up there with him, he knows that when he's got two very fast sidecars in front of him, they'll be pushing each other every inch of the way. One of them may make an error by going wide. It means that Rob Wilson can capitalise and come underneath on the inside. So watch to see what happens. Adrian Davis is having a good scrap in 4th place at the moment to try and come through and maintain that 4th. But leading at the moment, Ken Lane and Mark Edwards. Rustling and Paul Urich. Well, it may look as if they've got a comfortable lead to you, but believe me, in sidecar racing, that is not too big a gap. Rustling and Paul Urich will be watching how Ken Lane is negotiating both corners of this track. As we see them go into the last lap, you can see that Rustling has come up very, very tight on the inside. Looking to go onto the green grass. And he's very, very close in that place. Fighting every inch of the way with the outfit. He dumps and dives in the middle of the bend. But Ken Lane and Mark Edwards look to be in good form at the moment. There's just one more corner to go for Rustling to try and make a challenge. He drives hard on the inside. He's got all the power on, but Ken Lane and Mark Edwards look strong. They come to the checkered flag and take it from Rustling and Mark. That's Paul Urich. Rob Wilson finishes in 3rd place. Sage Davis, in fact, finishes in 4th. Ian McCauley turning it sideways in this last bend. He looks to be okay. Well, I think Rick McCauley was determined he was going to hang on and get a finishing place in that final. But as Ken Lane and Mark Edwards come round, show them your appreciation, because they have indeed ridden brilliantly well this afternoon. They are in tremendous form. They are, of course, our national champions. And as they work towards that campaign for this year, this is the sort of event they like to win, to just let people know that they are in control. So the last result of the day, a win for outfit number 7. It's race 33 in your programme. The official result reads as a win for number 7, Ken Lane and Mark Edwards. In 2nd place, number 6, Rustling and Paul Urich. In 3rd place, number 24, that is Rob Wilson and Vince Jones. 4th place goes to number 26, Sage Davis and passenger Vince Davis. In 5th place, and didn't they do well to get across the line, Ian McCauley and Rick McCauley. The winning time, 128.34. Well, I mentioned to you earlier on that there will be a presentation as soon as it can be organised. Riders that are making their way back to the pits, it's the winners of each event in the national class, but we want the first 6 in the closed club. So the winners of the last ride is, of course, rider number 43, Martin Phillips. Thank you. And no adverse comments at all about the rider that finished in 2nd place. His riding number is 133. You all know who it is. It is, of course, Pete Barnaby.
Your name to take the trophy.
That's your man as well.
Well done, baby.
Alright, thank you. Well done, mate. Thank you.
But a very well-deserved winner of the Closer Club competition. I didn't know until halfway through the meeting they're only riding for trophies. This guy rode as if he was riding for at least £100. A very well-deserved winner. He rides number 99. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of this rider, Anthony Locke. Well, before I move on to the National, I would like, I'm sure he said Roger Harris. Yeah, Roger Harris from the St John, if you could make your way over here, sir. And we move on to the National winners because it was a very hardcore event, I think you agree with me. But in the solo class, there was just one rider that showed he was head and shoulders above everybody else. He took the trophy away last year. He's going to take it away again this year. It is, of course, none other than Paul Fry.
He's on his way, someone says.
See, well, I've never made it on the television, can't you?
Here he comes.
You should always check you got everybody here first, shouldn't you, really, I suppose?
There's a sidecar brigade coming as well.
He's running.
Poor old boy's got to make all his way down here. I hope Razzy's around here somewhere. Oh, look at the speed the sidecar boys are coming across, look.
Mr. Venables called Ken Lane a veteran in the Echo Lounge.
I can't believe something called Ken Lane a veteran. So they know.
Okay, mate. Right. Oh, get away. Yeah. And you, thank you very much. All right.
Paul,
Grab, mate.
Oh, loads of photographs on the right way. The 500 sidecars we move on to, well, it was a very big event down here last year, if my memory serves me correctly, because there was an awful lot of 500 sidecars, and he had a very hardcore competition. I don't think we should reflect on the fact that a lot of these guys are over on the continent representing us as British riders. And the winner of the 500cc sidecar event did it in very demanding form. He wasn't beaten all day long. It is, of course, Brian Palmer and Scott Dunn.
Hey Andy, what happened?
Thank you very much.
Didn't go fast enough. Just to prove I was here.
That's it, why not?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, indeed, we have just got one more lot of trophies to present, and that is, of course, to our other national class that we had here this afternoon, the 1000cc sidecar class. And I think you'll agree we had a very big entry we started today. It dwindled a bit towards the middle of the day, but we did have, in my opinion, a very well-deserved victor. He was pushed every inch of the way in the final. It is, of course, our reigning British Masters champions. Winners here again this afternoon, Ken Lane and Mark Edwards.
All right, mate. Yeah. How you doing, kids? Hello, Ken. Hello, mate. Here, I don't mind you winning.
Wouldn't that have upset somebody else, though? If you wonder what we're talking about, can you believe that on these trophies it's actually got a picture of Ken Lane and Mark Edwards? And we're all just saying how much that would have upset somebody if they'd won it.
That's right. That's it. Right,
I think that would have sat on Russell's mantelpiece really nicely, actually.
Roger had one last year, like
Yeah. No, Roger's already got one. But there is just one more little presentation we've got to do. If I could call up Mr. Roger Harris from the St John's Ambulance. And I think the biggest thank you of all is going to go to everybody that did buy raffle tickets this afternoon, because I know that one of the club officials did you out this morning that the raffle was in aid of the St John's Ambulance. Roger, if I could ask you to join us over here. I'm told that there is 2 £250 in that envelope. A very worthy cause indeed. Thank you very much indeed.